That's the midpoint, because up to the midpoint is Neptune, and after the midpoint is Belmar.
So, yeah, Neptune, actually. Technically, it was after... It looked like it was more on the Neptune side.
So what kind of car is it?
Kind of looks like an old, beat-up, light tan-colored, sedan.
And what was your name, sir?
So if it's okay, I'd just rather be anonymous.
And this is your cell number?
Yeah, I'm driving Uber and Lyft tonight, so I just figured I'd give a call in, because it's kind of hard to see, I think, if you're coming the other way.
And was there anybody inside the vehicle?
I looked, no.
Okay.
Unless they were sleeping. I couldn't see them by their head being up. Nobody looked like they were in it.
All right.
Neptune Township Police headed to the Belmar Bridge along Route 35. They did indeed find an abandoned car there, a 1994 Oldsmobile 88. The keys were still inside, the door unlocked, but it was empty. It wasn't damaged, so there definitely hadn't been an accident, nor had it been broken into. Police ran the number plate and determined that it was registered to a Lillian Stern, but she was not the main driver, it was actually her granddaughter, 19-year-old Sarah Stern. Some of the detectives even knew Sarah, they knew her whole family. The community was just that small and close. To find her car like this was worrying.
You put me out with New Jersey registration. I started to tow out here.
The car was right on the side looking over the water, and there was a worrying thought that she or whoever was in the car had jumped. A dive team started searching the Shark River below, but it was just too dark, so they had to wait until sunrise. The concern was that if someone was in the river, the currents would likely have swept them away pretty quickly, heading for the Atlantic Ocean. It wasn't very deep, but it was fast and freezing at this time of year. The police called Michael Stern, Sarah's dad, who was in Florida at the time. He hadn't heard from his daughter all day and had tried to get hold of her a few hours before to say goodnight. He told police to contact her best friend Liam and his mum Megan. Maybe she was staying with one of them. With a million things racing through his mind, Michael set off on the 17-hour drive from Florida to New Jersey. His daughter, 19-year-old Sarah, was an aspiring artist. It had been a tough choice between art and sports as she played softball and was on the swim team, but she decided to study art and TV production at college. She was a frequent face at the various film and arts festivals and conventions, was always out taking photographs, and loved painting the windows of the local schools for the holiday seasons. Safe to say, if it was creative in any way, Sarah wanted to be involved. She referred to herself as a reckless optimist, something one of her friends would say was a spot-on description. Going into things head first and always looking on the positive side, even when things didn't go her way. Sarah lived in Neptune City with her father and grandmother. She was an only child, and sadly her mother Carla had passed away from cancer a few years before. Carla had run a bookstore for 25 years and loved travelling, both of which inspired Sarah's creativity and love of seeing new things. As devastating as their loss was, Michael and Sarah were now closer than ever.
Can you see if we have any contact info for the RO? Just try giving them a phone call before the tow gets.
Police towed the car and went to Sarah and Michael's house just before 3:30 a.m.
Hello? Hello? Neptune City Police! Hello? Neptune City Police, hello? Let's check down here first.
Weirdly, the lights were all on, and the back door was unlocked. It was eerily quiet as they entered, and it was totally empty. They soon found out that although Sarah lived with her grandmother, she hadn't been at the house since Michael went to Florida, as she was feeling unwell and staying with a family friend. So by all accounts, it was just Sarah and her dog Buddy in the house at the time. More worryingly still, they found Buddy locked in his cage. Buddy was the little love of her life, and friends said it was rare that he would ever be in his cage. He was often just roaming around the house wherever he wanted, and wherever Sarah went, she took Buddy too. Someone had put him in there and locked it, and it didn't look like it was Sarah. They spoke to the Stearns' neighbour, Robin, and she said there was no way she would have upped and left without anyone to look after Buddy. The fact he was there by himself without food was the biggest red flag. She did say that, oddly though, Sarah had come by her house earlier that day with one of her friends, Liam, to drop off a box of stuff she said belonged to her mother. Sarah had been boxing things up and dropping them at various people's houses. The reason why was unclear. Robin took the box in for her, but later when she texted Sarah, she got nothing back. The officers gave Buddy some treats and made sure he was safe while Michael was on his way back, and reported their findings back to the station. The search for Sarah Stern was now on. Given where they had found the car, the keys still being in there, none of her belongings around, and right over a river, they had to consider the possibility that maybe she'd jumped. But her dad said, no way. Sarah had definitely had a tough few years, but she was now more positive than ever for the future. She had big dreams, an amazing circle of friends, and nothing was getting in the way of her achieving what she wanted. Her list of upcoming plans was long. A local restaurant, Bruno's Pizza and Sub Shop, had reached out to her about painting a winter-themed mural on its window. At Christmas, she had plans to go to New York to watch a show on Broadway, and was set to go to bartending school so she could work at night and focus on her art during the day. The following summer, she was planning on moving to Canada permanently with her dog Buddy, to live with other family members. She had just bought a TV to give to her grandmother for Christmas, and she had a hovercraft on order for when she finally did move. She loved Canada and was frequently flying out there. It was a place she could see herself living forever, and the change was what she wanted. And looking at her short-term plans, she was going for dinner with a friend the following day and had some art projects to be working on. Her dropping off the grid didn't make sense. It seemed that one of the people to last see Sarah was her old friend, 19-year-old Liam McAtasney, the same Liam that helped drop some bits off to Robin's house. They'd known each other since they were 6 and stayed very close since meeting in Sunday school all of those years ago. So close, in fact, they had even spoken about moving to Canada together. When Michael heard his daughter was missing, 2 of the people he first suggested they contact was Liam and his mum Megan. They hung out all the time, so there was a high chance he had heard something. Megan opened her door that morning to officers. When they said they couldn't find Sarah and were worried for her well-being, Megan said, "I'll call her, she'll answer for me." But her phone just went to voicemail, and her normally blue iPhone messages were being delivered as green. Megan told police where they could find her son, Liam. He only lived around the corner with 19-year-old Preston Taylor, another close friend of Sarah's. Preston had even taken her to junior prom. In fact, Liam, Preston and Sarah called themselves the Squad. It was just one of those friendship groups that everyone expected to see together all the time. Where one of them was, the other 2 would likely be not far behind. Despite the occasional jokes from other people about romantic relationships between them, it was nothing but a solid friendship group. Nothing romantic at all. Just the best of friends. In Sarah's yearbook, a page on her best friends section had a picture of Liam and Preston, and on Liam's Facebook page he listed Sarah in his family section. At 4 a.m, just a few hours after her car was called in, detectives showed up at Liam's apartment too.
Liam? You Liam? You got a second? Can I come in and talk to you real quick?
Yeah, no problem, officer.
Is Sarah here by chance?
No.
When was the last time you talked to her?
I was with her today,
What time?
before I went to work.
So it was earlier today?
Yeah.
When was the last time you had any kind of contact at all with her? Turn some light on if you don't mind.
I mean, we went to get food today.
And you went to work at what time?
4:30.
Okay, so you haven't talked to her since 4:30? You have a cell phone you can reach out to her on?
I actually haven't been able to find my cell phone.
So you haven't been able to talk to her? You don't know where your cell phone is?
No.
Liam told them he had seen her the previous day, but he hadn't heard from her in the last few hours. He'd been at work, lost his phone, and then went to bed. He'd been at her house earlier that day helping her move some things around. There were even 3 crates of her mother's belongings in his apartment. The pair had driven around for a bit and grabbed some lunch from Taco Bell at around 2:30 p.m, but then he left her to go to work at 4. Liam said that Sarah had recently confided in him that after her mum died, she had found a shoebox containing thousands of dollars of cash hidden in her family's second home. Inside was a note saying it was Sarah's inheritance. A lot of the cash was not in the best condition. It was old notes and some of it was stuck together. But the pair had talked for ages about how, if she could get that money accepted or into a bank, it could help her achieve her dreams of becoming an artist. Sarah's aunt confirmed this too, saying Sarah was keeping some of the cash in a fireproof box in her bedroom. The rest she had put into a safety deposit box at her bank. She was a little concerned when Sarah told her she'd revealed all of this to Liam, as they had agreed to not talk about it. It was a large sum of money after all, and it was best that she didn't make it obvious that she had it. But Liam was her most trusted friend, and he knew everything that went on in her life. They asked Liam why Sarah might want to disappear, and he said that despite what her father had told them about her positive state of mind and all of her upcoming plans, he saw things differently. He said that a few years ago she had made an attempt to take her own life, fueled by arguments with her dad and the death of her mom.
Keep looking for your cell phone, man, because we're trying to find Sarah. What was her mindset last time you talked to her?
I just know she's been trying to get away and told me she's going to Canada.
Trying to get away, okay. Canada, she's been real depressed lately?
Her dad is crazy.
Okay, and then she's dealing with the loss of her mother. Her dad's in Florida right now, right?
Her dad, yeah. He's coming back today, I guess. I don't...
Where's her grandma?
Grandma's actually sick.
Where's the grandma at right now? She's not at the house.
She's staying with some family member.
Maybe reach out to some friends, maybe hit our message on social
I
media.
definitely will.
Start reaching out to somebody, see if anybody's talked to her, or when they talked to her, what her mindset was and all that, all right?
Planning on getting a phone as soon as...
Okay.
Michael was confused and upset when he'd heard about this. He knew Liam and loved him. Why had he accused him of something so hurtful? Had things been trying for them, of course, but arguments? They hadn't fought at all. They had a great relationship, as did Sarah with his new girlfriend. They would text each other all the time and share everything. In fact, it was obvious from their text thread that the only day they hadn't spoken was that very day. It was also the only time her iPhone messages had been delivered as green when talking to him. She had never been reported missing before, never left Buddy unattended, and never been out of contact with people. Police did wonder though. Did Liam know where she was? Was he covering for his friend running away? He would likely have been the first person she had told anything to, and detectives had to wonder if he knew more. CCTV confirmed that they had both been at the Taco Bell for lunch, and a neighbour's security camera also showed the pair coming and going from Sarah's house all day. And Liam driving away to go to work that afternoon. He was picked up working his shift as well. Later that evening, however, a few hours before the police showed up at the bridge, at around 11:45 p.m, Sarah's car was spotted leaving her driveway. But there was no way of telling if it was her behind the wheel or not.
So that's the last time that there's any kind of recording or that anybody had seen her. We haven't heard that anybody saw her after that, and we just don't know what happened after that. We're trying to solve this by having the search. We just want to see if something happened over by that river, and we want to be able to get Sarah back. Coming out of the Shark River Marina area in Belmar and Avon, Shark River Hills and Neptune City, that area, and I think part of Wall Township too. So it encompasses a big area. It's a big stretch of water, and we're just trying to get as many people out there as possible to just see if we can uncover anything. Everybody that talked to her in the days leading up to that, she seemed just fine. So, and you know, it's a mystery. It's a mystery, and it's shocking, and it just takes my mind to another area, and I just know it's very depressing, it's very hurtful and sad, and it's not a feeling any parent or anyone should have with anybody that's close to them or any loved one. Where are you, Sarah? Give us a call. Come on home. Buddy's waiting for you. Buddy's her dog. She loves the dog, and I just don't understand why we haven't heard from her.
Liam was, by all accounts, still the last known person to have seen her that day, so on the afternoon of December the 3rd, they went back to see if there was anything he was neglecting to tell them. His story was the same. He'd met her for lunch, they'd hung out, and then had gone to work, leaving her at her house. He maintained that she wasn't in the best headspace and was keen to get out of New Jersey. Yes, everyone else was saying something different about her state of mind, but Liam had a special relationship with her. So, was his version of events the truth?
I've been friends with her since first grade, so we have a pretty good friendship.
What's going on? Just give me what's going on with her. Like, how's she been acting lately? The same? Different?
No.
Liam, you've known her since first grade, you said.
Yeah.
Has she been different than normal lately?
Well,
and for how long?
In the past, she has had a tendency to have self-destructive, suicidal behavior. I actually know that.
How long ago?
Years ago.
And what was it that she would be self-destructive and suicidal? Sorry.
It was over.
Stepping on you.
Over something her dad did. I'm not too sure because it was. I think it was my freshman year, sophomore year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my second year of college right now.
4 or 5 years ago.
But
mm-hmm.
I remember being with my girlfriend. She was completely obsessed with my girlfriend. And something happened with her dad. My girlfriend had to leave to go take care of her because she was saying, "You don't come here right now, I'm going to kill myself."
So she's made comments like that in the past?
Yeah. Over the past few months, she's been telling me, how bad her relationship with her father is and how she just needs to get out of here.
Why was it bad? What made it bad?
Fighting.
Dude, if you know anything about where this girl is or have had any contact with her, you need to let us know.
Believe me.
And exactly what it was that you had spoken to her about yesterday afternoon before you went your way and she went her way. You need to open up and let this detective know everything. Yeah. And again, Liam, we've said it a couple times. I'm going to throw it at you one more time, dude. We just want to make sure she's okay. Nobody's going to get in any trouble here. We just got to make sure that Sarah's all right.
Liam was cooperative and wanted to help as much as he could, and he volunteered to sit down for a recorded interview.
Is she in Canada? I couldn't tell you. I can honestly tell you that. I'm one of her closest friends, and I have no idea why she wouldn't tell me anything before she left. Like the last time I say goodbye to her, it was just like any other day. Like, see you later, I gotta go to work. Nothing. She didn't say anything.
Did she have her phone while you were there? Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw her phone. And you haven't been able to find her cell phone? I don't know if you guys can tell me that.
Do you know where her cell phone is?
No, I have no idea. But probably on her.
During the interview, he spoke more about Sarah having suicidal thoughts and the awful fights that she and Michael had allegedly been having. He was now calling Michael threatening and even accused him of stealing money out of her inheritance.
Do you know her family?
Yeah, I know some of her family.
You know her dad?
Mm-hmm.
What's her relationship like with her dad?
Not good. When her mom died, she had money that was supposed to go to her, and her dad took that from her. That's kind of been the big thing over the years that she's always said. The dad took money from her, dad took money from her. She definitely has some trust issues. Believe me, I've done nothing but just try to find out if there was any physical violence between her and her father. I've always been trying to get that out of her, and she's never told me.
Suddenly, he said something that changed the tone of the interview. Something odd.
One thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was if she did jump off the bridge, what are the odds that she's not somewhere all the way out in the ocean by now? And
Did she tell you she was going to jump off the bridge?
No.
What a strange thing to ask, detectives thought.
If she had told me that she was going to jump off the bridge, there would have been no way that I could have gone to work that night. I went to work and I had one of the best nights of my life. I made a bunch of money. All my tables were good. I had a great time. I would not have been able to do that if I knew something.
But before they could press him any more, they got word that his parents had contacted a lawyer on his behalf, who, of course, told him to stop talking. The interview came to an end. On the day she had vanished, cameras from Sarah's bank showed her coming in to withdraw $7,000 from the almost $23,000 in her safety deposit box. Liam had been with her in the car. This was around the same time that they got lunch at Taco Bell. So why only mention Taco Bell? He already told them about the inheritance, so why not just say she took money out? And as they knew, Sarah's car was spotted driving away from her house at 11:45 p.m, and although Liam was supposed to work until midnight that night, he actually clocked off at 10 p.m, meaning he did not in fact have anything to cover him for those few hours. The next person to talk to was Preston Taylor, Liam's roommate, and also Sarah's good friend. Preston was a lot less talkative than Liam, but he did confirm Liam's timeline and said that what his roommate told him was the same as what he'd told the officers. So what did he think happened to Sarah, they asked. Tearfully, he said he thought she had jumped off the bridge. Arguments with her dad, possible depression, still dealing with grief. There was a long list of things that might have driven her to this, he said.
Police were at your house, 4 o'clock in the morning. She's missing. You just find out that her car is found on the bridge. And now Liam is telling you that he was with her. You don't remember anything that he said to you? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah.
You have no recollection at all about what he told you he did with her. Did he say that he was at her house? Did he say that they went to the movies? Did he say that they went to the beach? What did he say they did?
If you did say anything, I missed it.
As detectives left the room, they turned to each other and shared a look. There was no doubt in their minds. Both Preston and Liam knew more than they were saying. They knew what happened to Sarah, and the police knew she had not jumped off that bridge. And why would she have run away and not taken anything with her, including the inheritance? It was not a secret that she'd wanted to move to Canada, so there was no need to do it all secretly.
Well, it's been a full week since 19-year-old Sarah Stern of Neptune was last seen, and now her family and friends are organizing a search party.
Family going to, if you will, take matters into its own hands, get a search party together.
It was now almost a week since Sarah had last been seen.
She's pretty strong, so hopefully we're going to find something today.
Both Liam, his twin brother Seamus, and Preston, along with almost 200 people, broke into groups and braved the near-freezing temperatures, searching for almost 12 hours each day. People were advised that they would be searching at their own risks due to the weather, but that didn't deter anyone. Divers had been searching the river for several days, but to no avail, and helicopters didn't spot anything either. When the river search came up empty, the New Jersey State Police Missing Persons Unit and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children joined in as well. But there was absolutely nothing, not a single clue anywhere. Time was ticking by, but finally they would get a break. A fellow student, Anthony Curry, had attended high school with Liam, Sarah and Preston. He was a budding young filmmaker, and he and Liam, a huge film buff himself, would often talk about movies together. Liam loved horror and coming up with ideas for plots. Anthony asked to talk to the police about a conversation he'd had with Liam just a few days before Sarah was reported missing. At the time, it hadn't stood out to him as anything, but the more he thought about it, the more bothered he had become by it. Liam said that he had come up with a plot about a man killing a woman by strangling her to death to steal some money she had recently found. After she was dead, the man asked his friends to help him dispose of her body by throwing her off a bridge. They would then make it look like she'd jumped. The pair would then bury the money in the park and return to it later and become rich. Anthony said Liam was really excited about the idea, grinning as he told him, bouncing around like an energetic kid. At the time, Anthony said it didn't really stick out. They always spoke about films, especially horror, and Liam could sometimes be, in his words, a little weird about things. However, what made it stand out was since Sarah went missing, Liam had reached out to him on Snapchat every single day, asking him to talk in person about something. Liam wanted to know if the police had spoken to him, and had they mentioned his name. This is when the plotline he'd mentioned suddenly came back into his head. Anthony thought about where her car was found on the bridge and wondered why, if Liam wasn't involved in any way with her disappearance, would he be worried? Snapchat is designed to automatically delete all one-on-one and group chat snaps after they have been viewed by the recipient, so it was also a little telling that he wanted all communication done via that app. Fortunately, as Anthony's suspicions had started to grow, he had taken photos of some of the messages on another phone. One message spoke about old and low-quality money, something police knew was the case with Sarah's inheritance. This was a big development, and Liam was clearly trying to open up to Anthony about something, so police asked Anthony to try and talk to him more, possibly admit to something small, or at least talk himself into more of a hole. Anthony agreed to help and asked Liam if he wanted to meet for a drive to get things off his chest. Detectives set Anthony up with a very well-hidden microphone and small camera in his car, and on January 31st at 11 p.m, Liam got in.
What's happening, bro? How you doing? How you doing? You want a cigarette?
No, I'm good. I quit them shits. I was smoking a lot of cigarettes while I was tripping.
Really?
Yeah. I tripped for like 2 months straight.
He was clearly paranoid and asked his friend if he could check him for a wire. Anthony agreed.
Dude, you can't blame me for doing this, right? I gotta feel you up real quick, alright?
You're good.
No disrespect.
I'll show you.
No disrespect, okay?
Nothing.
Yeah, I got the FBI on my ass, dude.
What are they questioning?
Oh yeah, a lot.
About what?
About killing Sarah.
What happened when Liam started talking left everyone stunned. It was far more than a small admission. He had murdered Sarah and had planned everything for months. The motive was purely to get his hands on her inheritance.
I pretty much hung her, I picked her up and had her just, dangling off the ground, and she just pissed herself, and
you lose control of your
said
power.
my name, and then that was it. And it took me a half an hour to kill her. I thought I was going to be able to choke her out and have her out in, a couple minutes. I choked her out, and then she was just laying there having a seizure or something. So then I got a shirt, and I just shoved it down her throat so she wouldn't throw up or anything, and held my finger over her nose, and set a timer. That's the only time I had my phone, and it took me a half an hour after I hit start.
He said he had strangled Sarah at her home, so hard in fact he had lifted her off the ground, and in his words, pretty much hung her. Liam said he was worried that Sarah's dog would be a problem, but he just watched.
She goes to walk out the front door. I choke her out, drag her. My biggest problem was the dog, and her dog laid there and watched as I killed her. Didn't do anything. Her fucking dog. What kind of dog? Yeah, what kind of dog is that? It's like some...
Was it a big dog?
It looks like a beagle, but it's the size of a Great Dane.
Nobody was there? Grandmother was
No,
there?
nobody was there. Even her dad wasn't there. He was in Florida. I have to leave. I fucking dropped my phone at Sarah's house. My phone was at Sarah's house.
Wait, you left your phone out?
Yeah, I lost it, and I couldn't find it. I had to go to work. I had timed everything out so that...
Fuck, why did you take your phone? You should have left it in your fucking pocket.
Dude.
What were you doing?
Strangling someone? I couldn't find it, dude. It ended up being out in the driveway.
Oh, it must have dropped out of your pocket.
It must have dropped when I was crawling to get in the car.
Liam said he realised he needed help to get rid of Sarah's body, so he had asked Preston to help him. Preston, he said, knew all about his plan anyway. He'd already agreed to help in exchange for a $3,000 cut of the money, and likely more later when Liam had access to it.
I choke her out, drag her into the back, put her in a bathroom, and then I had to go straight to work. So Preston came over, took the body, put it in the bushes, and then I was at work. I had a full night of work, except I left work a couple times, which looks sketchy. I look for my phone though, which is a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, you gotta look for your phone. Yeah, you can't.
Which is kind of me losing my phone is kind of a good thing, because the cops are like, oh, he's hanging out with her. He lost his phone. He's going back and forth between his house looking for it.
His coldness and arrogance as he recounted everything was astonishing. He frequently smirked and seemed genuinely quite proud of himself and his plan.
I had planned Sarah's situation for me to be interrogated by cops. That was whole part of my plan, to make me look not guilty. And the worst part is, we threw her off the bridge, and the body never showed up.
It's probably frozen.
It's probably all the way out in the ocean.
He was so fixated on money, literally nothing else mattered to him. Anthony sat and listened, knowing he had a job to do, but it took all of his energy to contain his horror of what he was hearing. Liam then drove to work and Preston went to Sarah's house to move her. Liam clocked off at around 10 p.m, and both he and Preston went and picked her up using her own car.
I get off work that night, go straight over. Preston and I go over to her house, take her safe, bring that over to my house before we do anything. Then we take her body out of the bushes and drag it over to her back fence, and I crawl, get into her car, and I back up. There's a security camera across the street, so I had to act like her. I watched her every time she backed out. She does the same thing.
They posed her in the seat as if she was just sleeping.
So I backed out exactly like she did and drove off.
Put her in the trunk?
No, I put her in the passenger seat of her own car. So I was driving, and I had her buckled in the passenger seat.
So she looks like she's just sleeping.
She's just sitting up. And my plan was, for me, I underestimated my own strength and how much a dead body would weigh. Because
it's limp weight.
Yeah. I got up on top of the bridge to throw her off. My plan was I was going to throw her off, run over, jump over the divider, and get into Preston's car. And I go up, open the door, unhook her, pull her out, start dragging her to throw her over, and then cars start coming up. I see headlights coming. I try to get her over, and I can't. Fuck my leg up. The weight from her body, made me fall, and my leg, went up. So now I'm limping, my leg's fucked up, and there's 3 cars coming up. So I grab her body. Dude, I had superhuman strength, and I threw it in the car, and I fucking picked it up, and her feet were up here, and her head was down there, and 3 cars go by. And I'm fucking losing my shit, because that easily could have been a cop. And then Preston comes over the bridge, goes around, makes a U-turn, comes up behind me. The 2 of us throw the body over, and then we're out.
Oh, so you needed help?
I needed help, yeah.
She's not even that big of a girl, right?
No.
Liam told Anthony that the killing had little effect on him. I don't feel any different, and I don't think about it. You always think you're going to try new things and you're going to change, he said. He then went on to complain about the money not being as much as he had hoped for, and the fact that some of it was damaged.
And that's not even the worst part. The worst part of it is, I thought I was walking out 50 grand, 100 grand in my pocket. She had one safe, and she took money out, and she only had 10 grand. And this money, I don't know if it was burnt or something. It's fucking old money, terrible quality. I don't even know if I can put any of it in the fucking bank.
Right, because it'll probably look sketchy, right?
Look sketchy, and it'll look like it's Sarah's money, especially if it's a federal investigation.
Right.
If they're looking for the guy who has the fucking old money.
Right, because it's probably the old dollar bills and shit. It's not like the new shits, because the $100 bills are changed now.
Exactly. Spent a lot of money. And I didn't even get a quarter of it.
Not having a body did not deter the police, and the next day on February 1st, 2017, Liam and Preston were arrested in connection with the death of Sarah. To say that everyone was shocked at who was arrested was an understatement. If you had a model of a best friend group, then that was them, a classmate said. So I think that's why the whole community is confused, especially like people in our class. That friend group was literally inseparable. Whereas the once talkative Liam was now silent, the initially quiet Preston started talking, and he had a lot to say. He confessed to everything. It was true that Sarah and Liam had spoken about moving to Canada together, but Preston said it was far more manipulative than this. Liam had gone along with it, using her desire to relocate to his advantage, telling her she needed to take out money so they could finalise their plan to move there together. It was on the 2nd of December when the two went to the bank, where Sarah withdrew about $7,000 of the money that she had already locked away. They then returned to her house, and Liam callously killed her. Preston told the authorities where they could recover 2 buried safes in the park, one containing some of Sarah's inheritance, and another containing her clothing. In fact, when Liam was arrested, he had the key to one of the safes on him. Preston showed them around Sarah's house too, describing what he walked into, and what happened when they got to the bridge.
How was Sarah's body positioned in this bathroom?
She was sitting like this, tucked into the corner and leaning over the toilet.
Okay, and her feet were where?
Sticking out into the room. I grabbed her legs and got her over to the fence.
Okay, so you're carrying Sarah by her legs. Are her legs dragging on the ground, or are they up in the air?
I was like holding them up in the air.
And what part of Sarah's body was Liam holding?
Her torso.
Okay.
And we carried her over to this fence near the safe was. Hoisted her up and over, threw the safe over, the two of us jumped over.
Okay. We're saying Liam had her
by the shoulders and hoisted her up onto the railing, and then I pushed her feet over so that she was going over the rest of the way. Right. As she went over, immediately after, her body was up and over the rail. As we were running back to my car, the black Mercury Mystique, we heard loud metallic bang, and that was all.
Okay. Did you have any conversation with Liam about that noise that you heard?
No.
Liam unbelievably pleaded not guilty to everything. Preston, knowing what he was facing, thought differently.
Today, Preston Taylor, on the right of your screen, came clean about money, lies, and murder.
In April 2017, Preston Taylor pleaded guilty to first-degree robbery, second-degree conspiracy to commit robbery, and second-degree disturbing or desecrating human remains, and he agreed to testify against Liam at his trial. Almost 2 years to the day since Sarah was last seen, Liam McAtasney's trial started. Monmouth County prosecutors had only ever tried one case before without a body, so there was nervous energy as the trial started. Liam had already fired his original lawyer, and his new one was pushing to keep his taped confession out of court. His argument was that if there was no body, there was no cause or time of death, and quite frankly, no way of proving anything. The taped confession was huge, but Liam had an excuse. A ridiculous story that Liam's confession to Anthony was simply an attempt to get into one of his films, and it was all a poorly worded audition that Anthony had used to frame him. However, their attempts to prevent the tape from being shown proved fruitless, and Anthony Curry was also allowed to testify. Liam didn't speak in court at all, or testify in his own defence. Along with all of the evidence in the recording and just how graphic and specific Liam had been, Preston also testified.
Specifically decided that Liam was strangling. Any other way, any type of weapon would have been too messy, left a whole lot of evidence. And then as far as what to do with her after she was dead, we talked about a couple of plans, burying her down at the campsite that Liam's dad owns, leaving her at the house, and then ultimately we decided that the best way to go about it would be to make it look like a suicide.
Now there's a verdict in the case of a New Jersey man accused of killing his high school friend for her inheritance. He's been found guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty. Liam Makatasny was found guilty on 7 counts, including first-degree murder, felony murder, and robbery. As the verdict was read out, he started crying, something prosecutors said was completely for show. It was all fake, and he cared about nothing but himself. That so much was obvious. Before the sentencing, it would have been Sarah's 22nd birthday, and Michael took some balloons and flowers to the bridge for her.
The most important thing is to get justice for Sarah. She was a great kid and never should have ended like this. Thank everybody. Thank you.
Breaking news in Freehold, New Jersey, where a 21-year-old man has just been sentenced to life in prison.
The now 21-year-old was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Preston Taylor was later sentenced to 18 years in prison and is eligible for parole in 2032. Preston said, "So many things about this scenario I wish I could take back. I should have known better and done something to stop this, and I wish more than anything I had." But the judge said he was just as culpable and did everything apart from strangle her. Both of them appealed their sentences, but both were told it was a no. The fact that Liam could have plotted to do this to one of his so-called best friends of almost 15 years, and Preston who went along with everything, all over some money, was frightening. Megan, Liam's mum, said she still does not believe her son would do this, saying he loved and adored Sarah and there was not a single part of her that ever thought he had anything to do with what happened. It should also be noted that without the help of Anthony securing that confession, they might not have ever known what happened, let alone got a conviction. Would Liam ever have confided in anyone else apart from Preston? Would the truth have ever come out? Police think probably not. Anthony said, "I'll live with this stuff for the rest of my life. Back then he was a great friend, one of my best friends. He'd give you the shirt off his back. Now he's dead. He's a killer. If somebody is capable of doing that, he could try to hurt my family or somebody I knew. You don't believe somebody would do something like that. So it's heartbreaking in a sense. Somebody who's your good friend, you don't think they would do something like that. It was an innocent person." It really is one of the most senseless and shocking cases. The fact she had died at the hands of one of her closest and most trusted friends is awful in and of itself, but thinking about just how long and painful that half an hour would have felt makes it all the more agonising. When Liam and Preston heard about her inheritance, it seemed they instantly turned on her, viewing their friend as nothing more than financial gain. They went to the most extreme lengths for greed, and the only thing that Liam was even remotely upset about was the fact it wasn't as much money as he had hoped for. They both spent 2 months calculating every single move to continue to cover up her murder, joining in with the searches and supporting Sarah's family at the same time. Despite the searches for Sarah, her remains have never been found and probably never will be. An expert said that her body would likely have been swept out to sea in less than an hour, and within a day, she would have been miles away into the Atlantic Ocean. Her community continues to remember her as she was such an involved and big part of so many lives. Her old school started a scholarship in her honour. They host charity football games where money can be raised for the scholarship, which is awarded to one art student each year. Sarah Stern was well on her way to achieving some amazing things. It was her and Buddy against the world, and she was ready for fresh starts in new places. In her mind, she would be moving to Canada to pursue art with her best friend Liam, and how sad that story now is to think about. Her friends said her incredible talent when it came to art should be her legacy. She should be remembered as an amazing artist and the kind-hearted, loyal and positive person she was. For Michael to have lost his wife and then his daughter in the space of just a few years, the heartbreak and sadness he must live with is hard to imagine. He said that when he heard Sarah had been killed and dumped by her best friends, people he knew so well, nothing made sense anymore, and it has left his world empty and without trust. He said, "My life has been on hold. You never know what might trigger a thought of Sarah. I have a huge hole in my heart, and nothing can ever make it whole.